Okay, let's talk about something that's, well, surrounded by a ton of myths and confusion: pregnancy. It can be a pretty confusing topic, right? So today, we're going to cut through all that noise. Our goal is simple: replace worry with some clear, straight up facts.
So let's just dive right in. When it comes to this topic, there's often a lot of fear and confusion mixed in with all the myths we hear, and that's totally understandable.
All right, here's a big one. I'm pretty sure most of us have heard this at some point. It's one of those myths that just sticks around. And honestly, if you don't know the real facts, it can sound pretty scary. And this right here, this is such a shared experience. This quote just captures that feeling perfectly, doesn't it? So many of us have been there, totally worried and unsure, all because of some story we heard that was just, well, completely untrue. And that's exactly why we're doing this. The whole point is to take that stress and confusion and just get rid of it. We're going to walk through the science nice and simple, step by step. By the end of this, you're going to feel confident, in control, and armed with the real info. Okay, so before we bust any more myths, let's lock in one single foundational fact. Seriously, this is the rule that's going to help us make sense of everything else. And here it is. It's this simple. For a pregnancy to happen, you need two things: a sperm and an egg. And this is the super important part: they have to meet inside the body. If that one condition isn't met, pregnancy just can't happen. Remember that rule, because we're going to keep coming back to it. All right, so now that we have our golden rule, let's get to the fun part. It's time to tackle some of the biggest myths out there. Okay, let's get this one out of the way right off the bat. Kissing, hugging, nope, just no. Remember our rule? Sperm needs to meet an egg inside the body. It's just biologically impossible for that to happen from a hug or a kiss. End of story. And here we are, back to the classic toilet seat myth. The science here is actually really simple. Sperm are, well, they're pretty fragile. They just can't live for very long outside the body on a dry surface like a toilet seat. And they definitely don't have some magical way to travel from the seed all the way inside to find an egg. So that's a big no. This one sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, right? The idea of sperm just swimming across an entire pool to find someone. Yeah, that's not happening. The water itself, and especially the chlorine, is a really harsh environment for sperm. This one is absolutely impossible. Now, this one is a bit different because it's not a no way, never kind of myth. But the idea that the pull-out method is totally safe, that's definitely a myth. Here's the deal. It's really risky. Why? Well, some sperm can actually be released before the main event, and trying to time it perfectly is, let's just say, extremely difficult. It might lower the risk, sure, but it absolutely does not get rid of it. Okay, so we've cleared away a lot of the what-ifs and the no-ways. Now let's look at how it actually works, because the real story, the science of it, is pretty incredible. So step one on this journey is something called ovulation. Think of it like the starting gun for the whole process. About once a month, one of the ovaries releases an egg. This is a super important moment because it opens up what's called the fertile window. That's the small slice of time when pregnancy can actually happen. Now, let's look at the other half of the equation. Are you ready for this number? In a single go, we're talking about roughly 100 million sperm. Just try to picture that. It's a massive number, and every single one of them is about to start this unbelievable race. And this is where the race really begins. It's like an epic marathon. Millions of them start this journey that can take anywhere from 45 minutes to, get this, 12 hours. They have to navigate through the cervix, swim across the uterus, and then make it into the right fallopian tube, all to find that one waiting egg. It's an incredible obstacle course. So after that epic journey, after that marathon against all odds, it all comes down to this. 1. Out of the 100 million or so that started the race, only a single one makes it. Just one gets to cross the finish line and fertilize the egg. And that is the moment of fertilization. It's when the DNA from the sperm and the egg combine and they create a brand new single cell. That cell is called an embryo. And that, right there, is the very beginning of a new life. Okay, so we've got the basics down, right? But some questions are a little trickier. They're not always a simple yes or no. So let's get into some of those. Here's a question we hear all the time. And the myth that goes with it can be seriously dangerous because it gives people this false sense of, oh, it can't happen to me. So let's be crystal clear. The answer is 100% yes. Your body doesn't keep a scoreboard. It doesn't know if it's the first time or the 100th time. The biology is exactly the same. If a sperm meets an egg, pregnancy can happen, period.
All right, here's another one that really trips people up. You'd think the timing of a period would make the answer obvious, but it's actually a little more complicated than that. So the short answer is yes, it's possible. It's definitely less likely, but it's not impossible. And here's why that is. Sperm can actually live inside the body for a few days. So if someone has a shorter cycle and they have sex near the end of their period, those sperm could still be hanging around when ovulation happens a few days later. So the only really safe and correct answer is that yes, it can happen. So, we've busted a bunch of myths. We've looked at the incredible science behind it all, but why does this actually matter? What's the big takeaway here? It matters because of this right here. This isn't just about a science lesson. Getting the correct information is about protecting your mental health. It's about feeling calm and in control. When you understand the facts, you can replace that fear and anxiety with confidence, and that lets you make smart, informed decisions about your own body. So, I want to leave you with this question to think about. Now that you've replaced a myth with a solid fact, what are you going to do with it? Maybe you'll use it to help out a friend who's confused. Or maybe it's just for you to feel more confident and in control. Either way, turning that fear into fact is a really powerful thing. Thanks so much for joining me.